Shit, back again. Um, yeah, trying to keep consistent, trying to get this photo site done. Um, if you were here yesterday, um, went through and designed kind of some early ideas for a it's kind of a photo site, kind of a media site. I don't know exactly where it falls, but it's more like an experience than my current site is. Um, right now, the way you browse photos on my site is very kind of whatever. So Ari and I we were going to work on a collaboration. We have been working on a collaboration for the last 2-3 weeks, and yesterday kind of started this as kind of seeing the writing on the wall that it might not pan out, and it's officially dead as of this morning. So really a bummer. Really was excited about that one. I'm trying to figure out how I can show some of that stuff. I might need to change assets, change themes, unless I get the blessing to keep it, but I might not. But I think some of the framework stuff I was doing was really fun, near and dear to the heart. So it's sad, but there's like with collaborations and like people have different expectations of how things work. Kind of what's needed to make it work. Some of the, and like with Ari and I, and some of like the process stuff, it's very kind of particular because do WebGL type stuff, it can be pretty unforgiving. So yeah, it's all good. It's nothing but love, but yeah, it just didn't end up panning out at this point. Maybe it lines up down the road. You never know. But I think at this point it is dead. So we need to get busy with something else. So yesterday I kind of started. I had zero plan. I was not expecting to really be designing this site. It was something that was kind of in the back of my mind for a good while. But yeah, here we are, just kind of diving into it. I'm gonna make sure I have all my settings correct. So if you watched the last stream, you might see some ads. So at one point I was playing some music, and in like the Streamlabs mixer, you have to create like this capture device in order to bring in your own audio into Streamlabs. Long story short, it was hidden, so I didn't know it was actually playing until I think someone in the chat brought it up with like what song is this? It's like, I didn't think anyone could hear this. So there's like 3 songs that got flagged for copyright claims yesterday. So apparently it's not anything to really be worried about. It's kind of a bummer if the whole thing like doesn't count for like my hours towards becoming whatever, like a partner. Because it was like a 6.5-hour stream yesterday. I'm probably gonna go kind of long today. I do have some plans this evening, but I think I can go until like 6 p.m. So maybe like a 4-hour stream. So yeah, and I gotta get all this stuff set up. So sorry if this is Joseph joining live for the first time. Welcome, man. Appreciate you coming through. This is your first time. It could be a little rough around the edges. There's a lot of times where I'm not broadcasting the right screen. There's times where my audio's off. There's times where, just about everything is, it's a possibility. And usually I try and keep it pretty open in terms of like having dialogue, answering questions. So definitely feel free to ask whatever, even if it's not related to this. This is a little bit more of like a focused sort of thing because of what happened with that collaboration. So I kind of need to, like Ari's got some stuff he's been working on, but he's going to have some availability time carved out for that, but we want to fill it with this one. So yeah, kind of a quick pivot. So I need to get this in a place that makes sense. I'll go ahead and, so I have to do desktop streaming with this. I just don't think there's another way around it. So I think I have to make sure like do not disturbs on, all this fun stuff, but let's just go. this is where we're at. So I didn't touch anything from yesterday. Um, I kept thinking about it and trying to like iron out some of the details, but ultimately I decided to kind of sync with Ari first. Um, I I recorded a video of what I'm thinking, and like I had no idea what he was gonna think. And so he's on a PC, so he can't use Sketch. So we had to translate this to Figma, and like some of the masking didn't work. But he's like, "Yeah, it looks broken." It's like, "What do you mean?" I thought he just thought the whole thing was shit, but that's not at all what happened. Um, he's really excited about this one. I think he's going to start doing a prototype right. I think today, maybe right now. Um, Thinking about how we can bring this sort of system to life. So this is the primary navigator in terms of like how you navigate different experiences. Um, Sorry, there's like these one pixel edges I just can't deal with because these like Sketch loves putting stuff in just random. Like even if you match the canvas size, it's still bigger than it's wider than the canvas size, but somehow there's still a pixel edge. I don't know. Let's just make it bigger. So yeah, so if you weren't here yesterday, it was kind of painful for a little while, largely because I wasn't really thinking. I didn't have a big picture of like what my strategy was for this page or this site. I did a lot of legwork in terms of like setting up symbols and just kind of getting it ready for when I have an idea, which for me, it's like, that's kind of half the battle is like trying to be productive at all times. That's my big thing. Like even if I don't have a perfect idea of like what my strategy is and like what I'm trying to achieve, there's things I know with like my site. Um, like I know I'm gonna want on my site. So I'm gonna need like a navigation. So um, I'm gonna need that kind of figured out, some of the different states of it. So just kind of chipped away at it and eventually kind of turned into something in terms of I think this top level navigation is starting to make some sense, how it's browsed. The one thing that I think we were trying to figure out is the preloading. So I need to come up with a preloader state. So that's something that's going to need to be here. So from this state, well, I had them all like clean numbers, but that is now. So the idea is you click into either any of these and you get to this like medium size image, and the idea is that you can see the whole thing. And this will be safe from various aspect ratios. Like it'll be as big as it can, but it's gonna have a lot of padding. But the idea is you then click into it and go to this like full screen zoom type of mode. And that's where I think this sort of navigator kind of comes to life a little bit. And so when Ari saw this, he kind of took it a little different way, and it was really interesting to hear what he was thinking. And it's basically treating this like a joystick. So you can control like you're panning around by moving this circle within this area. So like if you let go, it'll stop moving. So it's basically like if you want to go left, it's just like this little area. It's like if you think of like a Wacom or Wacom tablet, whatever you want to call them. Apparently it's Wacom. Or no, Wacom. Or Wacom. It's kind of like you can map a portion of your tablet to be like the full screen, and that's basically what's going to go on. We're going to have this indicator here of like where you are within the scroll, or like the broader picture. The big idea is is what was I going to say? I can't remember. But they do, in general. I don't know why I'm spacing so hard on this right now. Is that you can move it around within the space. This is kind of like your borders, but you can also click these to go in different directions. Um, and it could be kind of nice if this maybe rotates like with you, so you can like free pan in different directions. Um, yeah, could be interesting. Um, that's kind of something that needs to be worked out. So a lot of these were just like I winged the hell out of it. And so the states aren't right, like how exactly it works. Like this is what I was thinking for initially, like mapping for each one of these. But if we go with the joystick sort of option, it doesn't quite make sense. And then how this manifests in something like these horizontal stories. I already like this as well. I just think with his new direction of like it being kind of like a joystick, um, how does that play into something like this? I was thinking kind of like a drag, like you can drag anywhere on here. I think you still can. Um, it's just whether or not this retains any of the joystick component of something like this. Will be fixed in the middle of the screen. That's the thinking. Yeah, I went back and forth yesterday in terms of like whether this is a custom cursor. If it becomes a custom cursor, like how does that change things? What are the buttons? What are the interactions? What happens when you drag, click in different ways? But I think to keep the most functionality, um, like one thing we could have done was like if this is the custom cursor and let's say it moves up. Let's see. I'm gonna have this thing. Yeah. So like this becomes the click. Like this. I mean, this plus wouldn't be here because you're already zoomed. But like you move up in the x-axis off of like dead center, and that click becomes like a pan up. You could also grab, but then it just gets complex in terms of like when you click, when you drag, like kind of conflates the two. Will it always be visible? So that's something we were talking about. He actually gave a comment about. I think it was more specific to some of these details down below. Like maybe we have a way to like show and hide that. I don't know where those details live exactly. I was going back and forth on whether it lives within this kind of. It's almost like a video game map, essentially. And we're thinking about this as like some cross between a video game and like a camera display. So those are the kind of metaphors that are coming through. They're kind of related, kind of not, but we're trying to join them together. So that's something I want to figure out today. Is like one way. Like I have to stress test it on all sorts of images, which I think will be interesting in and of itself. But thankfully, I can do that pretty easily with this. Let's see. But so it's like, do we get into blend modes? Is that enough? Is it obnoxious? Will we need to hide it? I kind of like it being like this omnipresent thing. It can become the preloader when we have to preload from this screen to this screen. So I think it serves a lot of purposes being persistent, and it's again, maybe it's something like you don't interact with it. It kind of reduces down to something that's a more diminutive profile. So it's not just like this thing is just like pasted in the middle. So I definitely need to hash that out. So yeah, like the goal yesterday was to give Ari something to start on, and I think we've kind of got that. I came to him with a half-baked idea, and he kind of melded it into something else, and I think it's kind of taking on its own form as like a entirely collaborative thing. So that's my goal today, is to get to get this guy figured out. I think we landed on this being pretty good. Just the density is going to be up in the air. He's going to have to do some testing in terms of like how many images we can render. I guess it becomes a GPU issue at some point, where it's like how much load you can put on the GPU, um, and it's some combination of like image size and the amount of items it has to render at the same time. So, um, and it also becomes like a preload issue. So we need to preload all these, whatever it ends up being, at this size. So you can click into it, you can see the full thing in a larger shape, but or a larger size. But then there's like this full size needs to be um, that needs to be preloaded. So like you click into this, and that's gets you into this experience. But there's going to be a momentary preload where we have to just lock it. You're kind of in this zoomed experience that you then have to zoom out of. So. Feels like it makes it feel. It makes it like it. Wait, it feels like it makes the site more about the experience of traversing the collection of images rather than focusing on individual images, which is interesting. I think it's kind of a both. It's kind of like the philosophy with Ari's website is that there's a discovery component to it. It's not going to be like super straightforward. Like it should be hard to shit. It's a turn. Welcome. Yeah, so those notifications, again, it's probably going to oscillate between like the default ones and the packet create or activated somehow. I don't know, man. That's going to be something to figure out. But I think it's kind of a combination of it, and there's a lot of metaphors you can make for it. Like doing, like the going out and shooting is kind of like an adventure. There's a lot of like locations, a lot of like, I don't know, in terms of like traveling. I don't know. There's a lot of like technical components to it that we're trying to kind of bake into this and make it just fun. Like, if you really want to see my photos in a very direct manner, but I think my site does that well, well enough to like just get it across. But I think if we want people to like experience it and kind of just really explore, so that's what this compass section is. It's really the exploration phase, or I don't know phase, the exploration mode. Like, because I do so much different things, I just want to like show everything and let people kind of explore around. And of course, we don't want this to hinder the experience. We want it to be something that enhances. Like you click this and it kind of like pans you up, pans you left. Drag is an option. This will need to be the joystick. So some of these are like old symbols, but definitely about the experience. And but we don't want to like fully get in the way of the images because that's the main reason people are here. So maybe in this instance, this needs to shift to something else. I don't really know. That's something I want to think about today for sure. Thoughts about, or yo, what's up, man? IVIX. I can never say. I don't know if there's a pronunciation I should stick to with that. What's going on, man? Good to see you back here. Thoughts about publishing your work on Unsplash? I had it on there for a minute. I've had like a really odd relationship with my photo work that's kind of been evolving through the years. Like, I had it on there. I had some of my stuff on 500 pixel. But I don't know. I didn't. I want these images to have value for people who want to buy it. Like, I think that's kind of what comes back to at the end of the day. It's not about making money, but I feel like my work has value, and if I just give it away, then I feel like I'm just commoditizing it and like something I put a lot of time and energy into. I want to give back, but I just don't know if like wholesale giving my work out is the answer for me. I'm fully appreciative of people who do it. Like I mean, all these images are straight from Unsplash. Like it's using the um, whatever, like the Unsplash plugin, so lifestyle. Um, I mean, there's great value to it. So, and even like as I look at how I want to do these XL images, I have them. They're encrypted when it comes to like how they live on the screensaver, how they're in the Apple TV app, like that I can control. But once you put something on the web, like good luck. Like my site, I know I did everything I could to protect my images, to a point where apparently I offended someone. I don't know how, um, but like right click, you can't do it. So you just have to do like the key command for inspect. You can't drag images. It gives you what it gives you. You can't. I don't think you can click and hold images on mobile. You might be able to, but again, I have like a reduced resolution of images on my site. Like they're not nearly the size they are. Like these are like 3600 by 2400. And do I want to give out those images? I don't really know. Like if people want to print it, they're going to print it. They could probably hack the. I don't know if they can hack the encryption. My brother said it's technically possible, but it's very, very probable. I don't think people want my photos that bad. So it's all about just creating barriers for that. And if I want to be protective of my work, that's kind of what I need to do. It sucks. Like I wish people could just have my images and trust them not to print them, but I've given full res images out. Tyler doesn't love you, bud, but somehow the image got out and it ended up in a bar somewhere. And there's another image that was used for a collaboration that I gave them the full res and they wanted to buy a print. I told them my prices and they're like, what if we just print it ourselves? And I was like, no, I want to have control over it. I want to make sure it's up to quality. Like you're not going to Costco print it. Probably is fine, but like I have vendors I want to work with that if I'm going to sign my name on something, I want to go through there. And they just went quiet, and I'm pretty sure they just printed it and just never told me. So just a couple lessons learned the hard way where I don't know, like people just are aggressive with it. If they want something, they're going to get it. So that's where like I don't know if Ari's going to be able to do it. I stopped short of asking him today, but the idea is like upload an image, and so let's say whatever. Oh, what's that? So like let's say I have this image. Every time it's uploaded, it's just broken into tiles. So, wow, that was markedly close. Of course, the vertical is not right. But basically, like the image is then broken into different patches, and then it's rendered on the screen by combining all these different pieces together. I could probably create a Photoshop action to do that. Do I want to have it? I don't know. There might be a better way of doing it through code, but that was one thing I was thinking about. But yeah, it sucks to have to think that way, but it's just experience, unfortunately. Your stuff is way too good for Unsplash. I don't know about that. It's definitely not like a I'm holier than Unsplash type of mentality. It's just, I mean, there's definitely good stuff on there. It's not in my style, but it's very good in what it does in terms of like there's some interior design shots, there's some architecture shots, there's kind of more like technical type stuff that again not my style, and like, to me you can't compare style to style if they're I don't think you ever really can. but there's definite value in it. They're definitely high quality, something someone spent a lot of time on. And, they're at a point where maybe they just shoot a lot and they have a lot of extra images, and it's for them, it's better to get exposure through something like Unsplash. Um, but I just don't know if they do enough um, to like give credit and like make it worth the creator's time to contribute there. And like I think the idea behind it is not that you're expecting anything back. Um, and I think that's like I didn't do it expecting anything back, but um, like just I know they try and like give credit when you can, but like no one does. It's like let's just be real about this and like what they're actually getting back. Like it's next to nothing. So it's definitely a charity thing. I've thought about doing like not my selects or my favorite images, but putting images out that people could use. That maybe I knew I never wanted to print, but then do I want to be sharing like what I think are subpar images as representation? I've overthought it clearly. Reverse JavaScript image atlas for the win. You're gonna have to explain that one, Federico. Um, do tell. Reverse JavaScript image atlas for the win. Is that what I think it is? Like, is that like pull down images, or is that a way of publishing images in a way that's protected? I feel like that would be a way to get them, but I don't know. I have 30 million views and 100K downloads. I've seen my images all over the place in India. No credits, but I don't mind. Yeah, I mean the exposure is great. Like if like I've seen some like absurd numbers like that, and like for 30 million views, and what 100K downloads, yeah, people aren't giving credit, and like people are starting to use these in place of like hiring a photographer because the difference isn't that great. There definitely is a difference, but there's a lot of like really good photographers out there like just getting started who are putting out great images, and they're willing to give them out um, and get it for exposure, and that's like more power to them. I totally get that. Everyone's got to hustle in their own way, and whatever makes the most sense, like definitely got to do it. Okay, so I'm got to figure out. I have to figure out a name to this because this is just. So I think the dial's out. But I like the dial, but I don't think it's going anywhere. So I need to create like just vertical groupings. So this is like slideshow, navigator slideshow, static, forward, fast forward. I should probably make verse, just so I have them. It's kind of overkill, but my OCD makes me do it. So then these would be fine. And I think there's going to be different states in terms of, like, I think this could be a little bit more dynamic. So again, something I should probably iron out one, just get like everything figured out what it is, and then do it off of that. Or I should do a nested symbol of this in case I change it once, it changes it everywhere, but I'm not smart. Nope, splitting images server to front end to have them served in pieces on the website. Don't think it exists. Image atlas usually compiles multiple images into a single request file. Interesting. So if you were to inspect something that's compiled that way, would you get the tiles or would you get the compiled image? Because I don't know if that's like a performance thing where you can load things in small bits of like a high-res image, or Um, my goal would be like ideally getting any performance benefits of having smaller blocks, but more importantly, like if someone inspects it, like they're gonna have to inspect it through WebGL, which isn't that tough, but then they're gonna have to like compile all these pieces together. Like, if you're gonna steal my image, I'm gonna make you work for it. We're honking today. I don't know if you guys hear that because you don't hear the air conditioner right here, which is great because it's hot as shit today. People are just honking. I don't know what's going on. There's always something here. Like, I live in a pretty quiet neighborhood, except when I don't. A lot of kids, a lot of honking. So, my apologies. That comes through. When Unsplash got bought out by Getty Images, I was skeptical at first, but I hope it's something they leave alone. I didn't know that Unsplash got bought by Getty. That's interesting. I wonder what their incentive would be to do that. Like, how are they going to monetize that purchase? It's kind of interesting. Maybe try a shot with depth to stock, better quality selected and curated, and I think way better exposure where it counts, and it's a cool way to think about curation and selecting depth to stock. But, oh. Why do I need a browse safely extension? Is this legit? No information available for this page. I'm curious. Like, that seems like something that's trying to impersonate an actual Google plugin, but it feels like it's like a security. There's so much going on. I may not check this out. Yeah, like what? Sorry. What is a security browse app? Like www.7. I'm probably out of there. I am not clicking that button. Fuck, I wish you guys could post links in the Discord. Or no, that's a good chance to plug it. I'll plug my links right now, and then I'll stop. Let's see, Chrome. So there is a Discord. It's technically the no ISO one, but I think it's the most relevant for this channel. Let's see. So we have the Discord. Sorry, this is just shameless. And so this is the playlist I started playing yesterday, which got me flagged 3 times. So there's going to be ads on the replays, at least on. I didn't even check to see what happened on Twitch. But yeah, I didn't know there was audio being played, so it's fine. I'd love to play music, but so yeah, if you want to join that Discord, I need to make like a stream section so there can be. Maybe I'll make a group real fast. Good category, live stream. Good category. Good channel. call it shares for now. So at the very bottom, there's the live stream category and there's the shares. So if you guys ever have links that you want to share, definitely put it there, because apparently I have to what's it called? I have to make you a moderator in order for links to go through on YouTube chat. And again, like if you're on Twitch, sorry, I can't see the chat right now. I know that there's been some more subscribers there. I've been promoting it on my site. So again, this is one of those things I need to figure out. So hopefully in time. Once I'm kind of full steam ahead on what's it called? On this photo site for right now. So death to stock photo. Death to the stock photo. There it is. There we go. Death signs artist on co-op. Huh. This is interesting. I mean, I like the approach to it. Yeah, I mean, this is great for me because yeah, like trying to I licensed 1 or 2 images and like having to do contracts, figuring out rates. Like I want to do it, and I love like the passive income because I have these photos and if people want to use it, great. But like making sure I had the contracts right, I had people just trying to lowball me all the time. Yeah, this is interesting. But do you have to? I'll take a look at this off stream. I can't imagine you have to pay as a creator, right? Still, it's bad in any way possible. So I'm just getting caught up on some of the stuff. Yeah, so I'm trying to split the images, not use other splitted ones. Yep. That was the reverse part. Still bad in any way possible is you end up with multiple requests to be uploaded to the GPU. It's not good. Yeah. Over my head. I think you guys would have a much better chance of figuring that out. Like, that's something I was talking with Ari about with this page, and partly why he needs to get some images to test is to see like the GPU limitations, which actually I owe him images right now, so I'm gonna do this real fast. Make a quick droplet, let this thing automate, aim that on over to him. What pays a creator, but it's not really a creator access if you want to take a look inside for 30 days free. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I definitely want to take a look at that. Bookmark. Yeah, I mean, the idea is promising. I like the idea of it. But yeah, I'm definitely going to dive into this because this could be a really interesting avenue. Instead of prints is already hard, licensing it's it's not that hard. It's just kind of a pain. So if I can offload that onto another platform, maybe they take a percentage, whatever. That could be great. You can make your own license. Don't pay for licensing your images, right? Yeah, I mean, I've done it. I have like a boilerplate contract I put together, modified it a little bit, and I did it. It was just like the back and forth, and yeah, it wasn't the greatest experience. Um, and I think my images might have a better chance because people are going there looking for licensed images. I don't think people are coming to my site looking for images to license. Um, it might get saved and people might come back or get sent that like, hey, if you're looking for these kind of images, maybe go and check like my site out. But I don't know. There's been like historically such low interest in like for some reason my images aren't very commercially viable. I really don't know what it is. Like it's just I think a lot of them are too dark. Um, I don't know. I just and I'm not really selling it at all. Like I think that's part of it is I don't do ad buys. I don't like promoting myself. I mean, might think differently after I just hawked all those links in the chat. Um, but yeah, it's not something I'm super keen on. So maybe once I get all this stuff done, I'll sell out. try and get some money so I don't have to take on client work. I probably so have these states. So static, slideshow. We want the zoom. So we're going to need preload, zoom preload. Zoomed state. So what does this look like when you click into an image here? Or the other thing is categories. Another thing I was just talking with Ari is like, where do videos fit in? just do something different. Because I was talking about videos and how they might live here. I think I brought it up last time. Like some of the like stuff like this. Like if I could just have this looping with audio, could that fit in here? And he's basically just like, no, do it somewhere else. So video might become part of it, and especially as like we're looking at domains. Some of the different options might be too specific and too narrow for what I'm looking for. Some subdomains might be out of the question, realistically. So, but yeah, ideally, like I'm not giving away money for people to do very little things. Like I want ownership as much as possible, but sometimes it makes sense to give away ownership as long as like I'm still owning the images at the end of the day. It's like all those record label deals where people are like artists are giving labels their masters, so they own the work. Whereas I think with that, like I would still own the work. If I don't, then I'm not interested. If it's just like displayed on their platform and it could be licensed, awesome, all in for it. But if they somehow have ownership of it, which I highly doubt they do, then it's kind of like a decent trade-off, depending on what their cut is. But at the end of the day, like I've made zero money off of my work to this point. So if that keeps going, like I've done it. Like it's gonna be weird to make any sort of gains off of my work. So I'm perfectly content. I'm not gonna like make a huge effort to make that work. If it works out, great. If not, like you know what, it's all good. Why do I have two? Oh. So this would be the preloaded state. Spell preloading. So to get from, it's all the same. I don't know why I changed it. To get from, so we're gonna load images at this size, which I never did. Sorry, I just all over. So this image right now is almost 900. That's 900 by 600. That makes for a nice kind of round number. So basically what to do, so I'm gonna go ahead, I have my selects folder. So this comes from today. Let's see. Just, I don't know if I did this right. Photo, site, size. So I'm recording, image, want this to be 900 by 600. Save the web. Not super worried. So we're going to convert these to WebP. Really get down the size. So let's put these pictures, sites, photo site, site. That should be good. Automate, droplet, photo set resize, save and close, save droplet, let's do desktop. I'm going to resize that. Photo site. So now, desktop. I don't know why, date modified. It just picked some arbitrary date, December 28th, 2020. So those are the original images, pictures. I know I need to organize this, don't judge me. So this is like 74K, that image is not bad. That seems kind of small though. Well, do 100 by 600. So if he really wants to go crazy, he can test all these. Probably pull from the archive because I've got. Well, I should have enough. That's 77. If I put these on photo set images, no. Let's see. I work as super unique, man. I've seen some images sold for thousands of dollars as NFT, which are no way near the quality and expressiveness of yours. Is that how this world works? I think you're far too kind, man. I really appreciate it. Maybe mint your photographs as an NFT and tell your partner to buy them. Buy all of them and buy them yourself. You can't get better proof of ownership than that. True. So I have minted one. It turned out to be kind of a waste of money. It was like between all the different like gas prices of listing and minting, I had no idea about it. I thought it was going to be cheap, but it was at it was like before things started normalizing with the market. Like it's like people were selling like just whatever images for like 5 Ethereum. I was like, well, shit. Like I'm gonna make 101 of like my favorite piece I've ever made, and let's see what happens. And it's already down like $1,000. Like I guess Ethereum's down. I don't know. But I've had just zero interest in it, and I haven't really plugged it. I don't know what it takes to sell. I mean, the shit that sells on NFT, like I don't know. I don't get a lot of it. I mean, this stuff is just crazy. This I get the value of. Current bids 2, like 7.5 for like, what are we doing? This is 1.2. Like, maybe these people are important, and this is where it's like the artists themselves become like potentially valuable, um, where people are investing in the artist versus like the work itself. I don't really know, and that's why there's been like Instagram influencers flooding the market with just like bullshit stuff, and people are buying it because it's from some influencer that really like. I don't get it. I love the idea of like digital ownership. I just don't understand. It's such a strange marketplace. There's some extremely talented work, extremely good work, but some stuff where yeah, like what it sells for, like I can't create an equivalency. Um, and you see stuff that is just like unbelievable, and it can't even get like point 0.5 Ethereum bid. Um, it's so strange. um, and I guess the other part of it is like I don't understand what collectors ultimately get. I think they get the sense that they're supporting the artist, which is great. I'm all for that. If that's what it takes for people to feel like they're getting something back, like I'd love it because then these artists are able to spend more time and create more, which I think everyone wants. But I just wish there was a little more logic behind it. How is this just one? I mean, I kind of get it. Yeah, I get it. It's just stupid things on top. The painting's nice. I don't know what this effect is. There you go. So for listed. Whoops. Went from 5 to 1. Maybe that's a strategy. NFT space are just fueled by clout. It does seem that way. Like all these like follow for follow type shit. I don't know. It's just weird. So I threw my hat in the ring and it just fell flat. Whatever. It's there if anyone stumbles across it who happens to like it. But again, like I wouldn't advocate anyone here to go buy it. I still own the copyright at the end of the day. I just don't get why people would want to buy it. Unless it's just a support artist. I don't know. Clearly I don't have a very informed perspective on this. NFTs are BS and horrible for the planet too. Yeah, I've heard that too. I mean, everyone loves to say that they're largely on clean energy. Um, maybe that's true. I don't know. It does seem kind of short-sighted to create a currency based on get the need for like the computational power, but like the energy impact it has to mint all this stuff. Uh, it's not great, but to be fair, they're making efforts to change the algorithm. It's garbage and ruining the planet, but we'll agree that I also do not understand the hype. Yeah, I hope they do change it. It sounds like I don't know what it takes to change it and whether it's even possible, but I have heard that. So hopefully they are. But you never know. They might just say that. Really not much use case for NFTs unless they integrate them with something like games, digital assets, only limited players. yeah, I think like unless there's like some tangible asset, like there's, it's been kind of cool. Like there was something, there was like a virtual experience of like um, someone's collection, where they had like they actually had like in a physical space with like all the TVs with the, because they had the high res images, they could display it on TV. So it was like this, I don't know, kind of hybrid um, digital and physical exhibit. But it's still like it's still weird at the end of the day. 'Cause you could probably pull down images from anywhere and display it, but like, because you technically own it on the internet, it's more valuable. I don't know. I don't know. We just buy the original print. What better proof than a physical object? That's what I'm saying. Um, but like the way I've been told is like the equivalency of, um, it's like there's all the, it's like the Mona Lisa. There's a ton of reprints and stuff like that. And yes, you can buy it, but it's not nearly as valuable. So somehow they've made that leap to digital art and how it applies to the same thing. And it's tokenized and like this is legitimately the original. Um, but it's not. Like I still own the actual original, but because it's tokenized, that means it's the outward original. I don't know. Yeah. Uh, After that, let's get back to the design. We're all going to die anyways. True. True. The simulation is going to run out of gas at some point. Um, yes, design. I mean, it's a good. I'm like always curious. I haven't really had a conversation with many people about it. I know a couple people who tried to get into it with some okay success. I don't think anyone was ever like, wow, like well, I don't know. There's a couple people whose like lives changed because of NFTs, and some of them were like people. Do I think it was worth 69 million? Probably not. But did he deserve it? Yes, I think so. Um, that's like 5 years of his life. Like, I'm sure there's more this here. So this is. Okay. I need to be better at this. It's like dashes are stupid. Sorry. I should talk to myself all the time. I'm trying to be better now. This is not a negative. I just don't take myself seriously, and it probably comes across as kind of negative sometimes. Because I also have like a very dry, kind of flat demeanor. I'm just, I don't know. I'm pretty laid back, but I'll shit talk myself in a very lighthearted way. But people think I'm just like really upset. Maybe. I don't know. So we're making progress here. So with the slideshow, this pan thing, it's got to be compass. So compass states. So there's the landing state. What is that? So compass landing is probably closest to this. Now that we're doing like a zoom. Default. So that's default. So I'm going to do a little more housekeeping. These, I don't know where these quite fit in yet. The panning aspect is part of the compass version, but so I already have static and default. So this would be joysticking. Default would be center line. I think it's also part of the problem is that this is not center. I think it's probably always lines. So that's joystick. Let's use this. This should be click. Arrow click. Should still be center. This should be. I don't know. Again, the visual language isn't going to be perfect just yet. It's kind of like it's close. It's not quite there. So it's going to be kind of like scratching your head at some of the details. Like, don't worry. I hear you. And so the one thing with Ari kind of thinking of this as like a joystick now, it's like, how do you click into it? Like technically there should then be you should be able to click into that's scale. So navigator, compass, cursor, so this is the problem. Like it just can't be conflated. Because if you're going to click and move this in different positions, this can't be the click in. Because this isn't always over an image. Like if it's over a gap, like why is there a plus? Could make the plus appear whenever an image is behind it, and make it so you can click into any of these and just go into it. I would rather people click those. I don't think I want people looking at these as smooth. So you'll be able to click these to go just pan around in different areas, do like set and scrolls. You move this around in the space. The further you are from like the middle, faster it goes in that direction. So I don't know if this is necessarily needed. It could be interesting. This. So if you have like a centering, so if you let go, it's going to go back. Fill. Is the target going to be a cursor? No, so this is going to be a stationary element that sits within here. So you can do like your traditional, like, the idea is like click and drag for this specific interaction. And then the same for like these stories. You can always click and drag. But you can use these arrows as like navigating to the next one. Or like fast forwarding to like this, something like this. But it gets a little complicated because it kind of changes the way I was envisioning. But I do like it for this, but if it, I don't know if it like parodies one-to-one to the other one. It might require some rethinking. So just going to create all the different states again. So as I think of them, I'm just going to add them. So compass, dragging, take this grid, bring to bitmap, blur, motion blur. Is. So this would be, we want to show what the dragging joysticking. How many images will be in the home page? That is, oh, yeah, it's probably done. So this is 77 images, 900 by 60. Let's get him a couple more. These aren't all the best. Ugh. Ugh. Uh-oh. Oh, the archive. Yeah, these are old. But for his purposes, they should be alright. What's this? He needs 30s. Wow. 42. Question. What does say? Yeah, so that's going to depend on what you can do with the GPU, how bad the preload is. So that's what we're going to test, is because we're going to have to load this size image for all of these if we want people to be able to like zoom in to at least see the full image and then opt in to see the details. And I don't know if that's going to be an annoying experience, but there's really no way to like see the zoom version. And I mean, maybe there's a way with this joystick idea for us to create like a fluid zoom between this and this. Don't know. I don't know if that's like too many controls. It kind of becomes like a cumbersome thing. Like I'd want to keep it kind of simple. So yeah, it's good. Like however many images will also dictate like how dense this grid is. Like whether this is something we can do so then there's adequate amount of things to explore, or if we want to have them a little bit bigger so there's still, because if it's like half a viewport on each side, then that's kind of a needless interaction. But I think just giving like a high level look at the work is kind of what I'm thinking of. Will all images be in the same aspect ratio? That's the benefit of shooting only landscape. Everything I shoot is landscape 3x2. So that's kind of why like this grid system is going to be, I think, the best solution. Because I think there's like underlying structure. It kind of looks like the selects from a broader grid. But it has kind of that, kind of like the type treatment I have. It's like this kind of thing. Like it's structured, but it's kind of organic-ish. So it's a little bit of imbalance to it. So we have those. I need to make one more. I'll duplicate this. Oh, size. Okay. Go. Let's make it 1200. Okay. Let's save. this would be. Oh shit. Sorry. I'm trying to do two things at once. Automate, create droplets, create droplet in desktop. Sorry, this says. Probably going to get mad that it's kind of two slightly different sets of images. $102. Okay, let that go. So then we can test like 1200 pixels or 900. And what also is nice, what we're going to be able to do, so this is going to be obnoxious. I'm trying to cover that. So all the file names for the screensaver and the Apple TV app, you can see they have like the C cold dark, kind of dumb names, but they made sense in my head. That's how it loads from a JSON file, and it puts them in those categories. And talking with Ari, like we're going to be able to do the same thing. So, so we'll be able to add like categorization here, or if we have this categories section, which is going to be much more straightforward in terms of browsing. I think that's the thing that I didn't really convey entirely, is like this compass section is just like, it's explore. I want to provide more like structured navigation, but this is like, it's not the series. Maybe series images will live here, but this is just like a more broader sort of way to explore. Yeah, that makes sense. So we're dragging the zoomed in state. Preload state, that's next. Zoom state, zoomed in. I think that flow is pretty well covered. It should be. I don't want to do all this boring stuff, but I feel like I need to set a good example. Not really. It's my OCD. I'm pawning off my OCD on you guys to do that. This is like when I export it, it's just going to be nice and clean. Simple. This like whole shift to this joystick is kind of fucking my head a little bit. I think it works, but it's not what I intended initially. But I like the idea. So I have to like kind of like, yeah, and I was getting on myself yesterday for all these fillers, likes, ums. I have to like make a point to donate money or something. Hit myself where it hurts if I'm going to really make some change here. Stories. And yeah, stress testing is definitely going to be part of this. I'm going to keep this just because I don't know what that's going to be. This scroll, like I don't think there's going to be a scroll version. Maybe categories turns into some sort of scroll, but I don't think that's the best way to experience it. We talked about this actually, this sort of like sector loading strategy, which just doesn't work. There's jank apparently. That's the word he uses. I don't know if that's the official terminology. But you know, that's kind of what we were talking about. So when we have to preload, we have to lock everything. That requires jank. So, Ari doesn't like jank. I think it's nice in theory. Maybe some other different ways of doing it could work, but I'm just a legend. Can you give a thought about a design I made inspired by yesterday's live stream and basic WebGL stuff? I put the link in general feedback on Discord. Damn, this is crazy, man. I do love like the lens distortion too. That's something. It's something I've wanted to do for sure. I've seen like sites that have it on the bottom of just like a little band of distortion to it, but how many images is this? This is wild, man. I love the click effect. Just looking at how stuff gets distorted. Like separates the channels a little bit of offset. It's like almost like halation. If you add like a little more blur on the edges, it will definitely look like halation. And I'm glad I didn't see this with when I had my edible yesterday. I might have just freaked the hell out. But this is cool, man. Like, I think it's a really cool browsing experience. And this is something like, oh, these are all your images from the Unsplash. That's really cool. One thing, what was I going to say? I can't remember what I was going to say. This is wild, though, man. Oh, the density. That's the one thing that, like, I think Ari and I are looking at. Like, what the image density is. I think something like this, it's kind of a lot to take in. But it does encourage browsing. It's kind of, but they might be too small, is the thought I would have. I think that's something I'm looking at of like how to bring in some additional spacing to it, whether something like this is more palatable. Like it's still a lot, and I guess I don't know what the rule is, but like the idea of like the rule of threes with how we process things. But clearly that's a lot. This is a lot more than 3, so I don't know how that applies or like what the optimal balance is, but it's probably all subjective at the end of the day. But this is really cool. You made this yesterday based off of what we were doing. It's pretty wild. That's a nice touch, just having the moon off the top. That's really cool, man. I was kind of thinking about that too, of like what happens when you get to the edge, whether there's like some Easter egg or something to find, like way the hell up here. Maybe I should have disclosed that. Hide like discount codes or something like way the hell off here. Like reward people for really exploring. Don't tell anyone I said that. Yeah, I mean, it looks sick. I mean, like everyone's, you can tell, super into it. So, really rad stuff, man. I should send this to Ari. We could check this out. They're random. I don't know why they're not loading on corners. Maybe a bug. Oh, yeah. Is it supposed to be infinite? So it just repeats the same pattern, right? So it's kind of just like patchwork altogether. So just like you'll get back to the same position. So while I'm off like desktop streaming real fast, I'm just going to access my Dropbox so I can. Sorry, I'm just getting already these images so we can mess around with. That, like, I love seeing that stuff in the channel, like, and just sharing ideas and everyone kind of, I don't know, inspiring each other. Like, it's that's wild that the stream yesterday was any form of inspiration. So, love seeing it, man. Hopefully hopefully my stream doesn't start dropping frames with all this uploading I'm doing. I'm just adding some stuff on Drive for Ari. All right, got the thumbnails thing done, so I can kind of just check that off. Streamlabs. Okay, make sure I got everything plugins. Hit Photoshop for now. Where are we? Desktop screen. It's supposed to be infinite based on Luis Bizarro's teachings. He has the awards course, I think. I think it's right there. Alright. Yeah, this is cool, man. Love it. Where was I? I need to fix. That's not. So preload, I think, is going to be easy. I have an idea for that. Navigator, arrow click, maybe it's that. I don't know. Navigator, compass, preload. I think this is the obvious option. I don't know if it's what we really want to do. I think there could be a much cooler way of doing it, but incorporating the circle as part of the framework. maybe there's some animation of what goes on. Um, but the thing is, like, this is going to be really quick for this specific preloader. So this preload, this preloader, because to load one XL image, whatever size it ends up being, it's like 1600. It's like 3600 pixels, which I did test in WebP. Let me see. I mean, just so there's an idea of. So this is 3600 by 2401. Which, you can't drag and drop this for some reason. Oh no, that's the other way. This one. Third. That's not. Why not? Oh. What? Got bigger? How did it get bigger in WebP? I've barely used this thing. How the fuck would it get bigger? It's still the same image size. Oh. Maybe not using WebP. Ari will figure that out. Turn this air conditioning off. Do a little bit less white noise. That thing's so loud. I still can't believe you guys can't hear that. It's so great. It's gonna get hot. If I'm gonna keep live streaming, I'm gonna need that thing. Navigation looking super good. I can visualize the image transition just like Ari's new site. Yeah, there's some things we're looking at, like leveraging between there. Like, that was one of the things we were thinking about, is the different categories, because that was what we initially had. I brought this up yesterday. Like that transition from single image headers into expanding the grid. I don't think we're going to quite use something like that for this. I think it's like whatever Compass, that's kind of the working name, working title at this point. I don't think we want category images for it. So there's no like logic to it. I want like urban images next to lifestyle, next to landscape, next to ocean, all that stuff. So I think the lack of organization makes sense here. I mean, maybe it makes more sense for the categories, which I'm not sold that I actually need. I almost would rather have that be video, just because, again, like the categories are so arbitrary. But if I think about someone who's looking for like image licensing, that might be more valuable, or they have more focused like interest. Because a lot of people aren't interested in surfing; they're just not, or not nearly as still level I am, or they don't like dark images. They want happy images. I have a lot of dark images. I think I scare people off sometimes. Zoomed out, that could go. So we're getting these flows together. I think just at a high level, taking account of like everything that's needed. So slideshow landing, whatever the drag state is. I'll probably come up with a couple alts of this to kind of see maybe some different options. What's the difference? Oh, so this is stories. Browse. The thing that's gonna be weird is like the difference, like how you know you're in a browse versus how you know you're in a detail. It's not very clear right now. It's kind of the problem. So I don't know if I need to rethink this a little bit, and maybe it's masked and kind of like inset. And this is where we can bring in some of those like custom colors. I think it helps with like the feel of like a story. It like kind of provide some context to it, not have it necessarily just full bleed. And having some like visual recognition of like when you're in one place or when you're in the other. Again, not perfect. I was even thinking like whether you click into it, it goes to the first page. So there's a difference between like this sort of title and then like it's like you're browsing covers and you click into it and you see like I don't know if it's table of contents or if it's like a hero spread. Like, so I have like these surfers journals. Actually, I haven't looked at these in a while. But, so they all have like this cover, and then what's interesting, they have like the system of the spine. So if you have them all, grab multiple, but they stack and they make like they work well together. Tons of ads. I mean, they have like a content section, which design's not my favorite, but this is just like one reference. I think it's a solidly designed mag, but it's not like bleeding edge or gonna blow anyone away from design. It's great imagery, decent design. But this is where I want this to feel like an editorial spread from something like this. Looks like they have stories. I mean, this is pretty similar. So it's like having these like story spreads. So maybe you're browsing all these story spreads, and then what you click into is then like the first page of like the actual content. Could be an option. Ari's not happy with my images. I don't like the red color at all in the text. Yeah, that's okay. It's not for everyone. It's a little abrasive. Definitely non-traditional. Oh, Ari doesn't like the... best. It's alright. Just having to figure this stuff out with Ari. Yeah, I think Discord. Yeah, I think Discord sound is coming from my computer. That might be fucking with everyone. I'm sorry. Let me. I don't know how to mute. Well, I just have to mute everything at this point. Sorry, he's not happy with my compression. because the images are tight. But yeah, this is just like a sample story. There's going to be different vibes to it. I think this is sort of a look I've wanted to explore of like this kind of vintage style that's kind of abrasive, but with like very calm. I don't know. There's like a lot of energy, and I don't know. I keep on going back and forth. There's like moments of calm, but lots of energy with something like Stories from the North Shore. Um, I mean, the crazy energy from the waves. So it's like, how do I bring that through? I don't know. It's not. It's not perfect, and this is like full work in progress. Like I think I was showing yesterday. Like these are thoughts from just like Instagram carousel. Like I thought this was going to be the cover, and these would be just like slides you swipe through. But it's kind of turning into this stories thing on my site where I could probably post it in Instagram if I'm smart about this. I can actually make them in a format that will translate to both. So then I'm doing it once, basically. So I can post the story, maybe a couple teaser slides on Instagram, but largely having experience on here to try and drive people here. Yeah, I turned off the audio, so you guys shouldn't hear that anymore. Sorry about that. I know there's a couple streamers I watch who do that. Or they have like Discord sounds come through, and I'm just like, what? Like, where the hell is that coming from? But let's see. So I have the browse. And I think the load in is going to be important too, in terms of like giving people the context of what the interaction is. It's not quite the compass or whatever, explorer, whatever the fuck I want to call it. So it's almost like this. I say it. I think it needs this kind of positional thing. Where that lives, I don't really know. Select layer, out of here. I mean, maybe it's. I mean, we'll have to think about the load in and the grid design, like what that actually looks like. Because I think this could be kind of nice, just having all these like spreads. And this is kind of my differentiator as like where my skill sets are in terms of like design and photography. Like I feel like I've designed first and I've created photos second. So being able to leverage what I've done, I've spent so much time in design with my imagery, which I mean, hopefully we'll catch up, or I don't know what the balance is, but they're both there in some capacity. So if I can marry those in some way, that like yes, telling stories is going to be difficult, but it's going to be interesting. All right. So I think this will be important, like whether this is like a staggered sort of and then whether there's like saturation involved, I don't really know. Ideally, this would be loading. I definitely want like full saturation at some point. I'm just like, we're looking at this, I'm worried about this being any sort of resolve state. I mean, these may need to swap where like the detail is full, but the landing, I mean, you wouldn't get the color. That's okay. I really need to figure out I'm trying to do like too many things at the same time is what my problem is right now. I need to figure out this like navigator thing and all the different states and how it condenses. Maybe we pin it to different areas. Yeah. So I don't know if the joystick idea translates, but we're going to find out in a second. Stories load in, browse, which may need a switch, dragging. I think if it like, let's go ahead. I need to put a button on here. I haven't done it. Blur, zoom blur. Like whether it's just like a zoom in, whether it's with different opacities, whatever it is, there's some load in that gives you context. That's all I'm really trying to convey at this point. I'll probably need a preloader as well. I'll probably need 2 preloaders. Yeah. Depending on how many stories I have, I probably still need it. Stories, preload, initial, and there may be ways around this. Ari might come back and be like, you know what, like that's really not going to be that hard for us to preload. We don't need to have like a full stop in order to preload, or we can sequence things in a different way. A lot of different solves that we could have in order to avoid, because like the last thing we want to do is lock up the experience, and that's something we just avoided with his site as much as we could, and I do like that aspect about it. We are working with a lot more content here, so may not have the luxury to avoid that, but no, figure it out. Browse, load, okay, preload, initial, load in, browse, dragging, we'll do browse, dragging. That's covered. Stories detail landing. This is the same thing. No, this is going to be detail preload, just in case. Stories play slash. Yeah, I know that's play. Fast forward dragging. I don't know if this has a place. I wonder if I have an extra spread I could put in here. I think you said, I heard you say when you had to move the designs to Figma. What was the reason for that? Ari's on a PC. So, yeah, oh man, this gets, it falls apart really quickly on this. Yeah, he just doesn't have a Mac. Or I think he has a Mac, but he doesn't really doesn't use it very much, especially not for development, I guess. His kind of work machine's a PC. So, that Sketch doesn't have that. They have the web browser, which I was thinking about doing. But it doesn't, like, unless you create a seat for him, he can't get dimensions of different assets. And I think like someone on GitHub made they made a viewer for it. I don't know how well it works. I never really tested it. But yeah, so what I can do with Figma is I can just drag the file in there, imports it. It actually does a pretty good job. There's some things that don't quite work. in terms of like some of the masking gets a little weird. That's why when like I showed him, I don't know if I said this on the stream or not, but when I showed him the designs initially, he thought it was broken. And I just wasn't sure if he thought this was just like a really shit idea. Or it ended up being, he really likes it. It's just Figma broke. So that's the reason. I like Figma, I don't like the subscription idea. Although I might end up with subscription with Sketch pretty soon here. I might go back. I think I might revert to old versions of Sketch because there's no meaningful updates that I can find from what I had in my previous version. So, well, no, that's not true. The symbol and the performance with symbol dense projects is significant. And for the project, like the collaboration I was just working on, it was like nested symbols and nested symbols and nested symbols with all sorts of like little data and overrides, and it was really slow. So initial load in, browse, fours, browse, dragging, whatever the preload is. Just do something to create some visual separation from these two, so I don't keep coming back to like what do I do? So I will do that. I should have slashes in there, but I'm just not gonna worry about it. We have to play. We have to fast forward / drag. Slideshow interaction zoom scale. So one thing we're talking about with the joystick idea is we like it, but we don't know if it's actually going to work, to be entirely honest. It works in some use cases, but I think like with zooming in, zooming out, how it applies to this, like I need to have a system that works across the board. Maybe we create a separate experience with this. I think he's working on a prototype of it to see how it works, but I think there's a way for the original idea plus this slideshow idea for it to work. I just want these to be click. So slideshow default, sure, have all these right. Not navigator. Slideshow. Sometimes don't know why I do some of these things. Nope. So this is pan still. Okay. So this slideshow is not stories default. Stories. Wait, no. I'm just gonna leave a slideshow for now. I actually think that makes sense. The slideshow might end up in categories, in which case I'd want to reuse the same thing. So I should just leave it. So default, if you go to a slideshow, you get the numbers, you have the option to zoom. That's because it has a resolved image underneath it. That makes sense. Click on this, that makes sense. Do we want to be able to like drag this circle? And like fluidly scale between these different directions? Or does the circle stay and this moves? And does having two speeds make sense at the end of the day? Or should it be something like a next and an autoplay? Well, really do. Stop being lazy. Like triangle. Border. About that. It was. It almost started as buttons initially, but well, that's how I did the spacing, was based on buttons, or thinking of them as buttons. But I think developing the interaction a little bit more, buttons didn't make sense. Guess it's a play back, like a reverse. I don't think makes a lot of sense. Preload wouldn't have. I don't think I have any of them. It's whether there's like some sort of animation that goes on with this. Is there no like rotate tool? Rotate shortcut is there. It's really annoying. Oh, there it is. No. Control. Oh, shame. I mean, it'd be kind of cool if it just like rotates, but then the text can't be there. I mean, it does clear the text, but it's too tight. So again, something that can be done quickly is the ultimate goal. Like, it's not the craziest thing, but it could be a nice way to kind of keep the interface intact, but just kind of have like the seamless. Like, this thing is, again, we want this thing. You can see from the different states, like it's fairly robust in terms of what it can do. But like how it transitions, like we want this to be like really smart. But it's simple to interact with, but it's just minimal in its footprint, and it's just like we're gonna try and think through everything to be as like minimally invasive as possible. So only recently changed the subscription plans for Figma. The free plan was really generous before that, especially for solo designers. Yeah, so I don't know what it is, but it's only lets me have like 3 projects, which is, I thought they let you have more than that. So I have to like delete stuff. So if I upload another version, I have to either overwrite it. I think if they do versioning with imports, but yeah, that's where it's kind of a bummer. Like, I don't want to pay for any more subscription, just because like Figma for me is not my tool. I don't think it's. I prefer to not pay because I don't really care about the development of that. I'd love to give Sketch my money on a subscription basis, I'd love to give either of them money if they made like significant improvements and made my workflow better. I think a lot of people would argue as of late, Figma's been a lot better about that in terms of like iterating. I haven't heard a whole lot in terms of like what they've been doing. I know a lot of like plugins and stuff like that really expand the platform. Same with Sketch, but Sketch seems to have slowed down a lot. Um, excuse me. Like I want to vote with my money and like give it money um, to improve it, but it just doesn't seem like it's there. You have a bunch of drafts. Maybe that's the trick. Just make drafts. But can you share drafts is the question. So how am I going to convey this? There's no radio blur, I don't think. Oh, this kid skateboarding is going to get. It kind of works. I could probably exaggerate it by copy pasting, turning down the opacity to 50, just stretching it out kind of artificially. Almost looks like that sort of like staggered frame look. I'm really just trying to convey an idea. The execution's not there. I can sit here and probably show Ari just like grabbing the arrows and just like rotating them around. I don't know if we want to do the same. Why are these kids so loud? I don't. That might not be necessary. I don't know. If it's going to be like, well, this slideshow might be a little bit longer if we're loading large images. We may load XL images in this instance. So if we're going to preload, we'll probably preload up front. Because I don't think these will be any more than like 10 spreads, maybe at most. So then if we have a zoom on this, you don't want to have like a preload into the zoom. It would rather just like you load the one image up front, click into it. That's why we have this sort of preload, which will just pause. This will be slideshow zoom preload. Yeah. This should be detail preload, so not necessarily zoom. Detail. So whatever that is. But then we preload all of it, so then we don't need to think about preloading at all. And then also thinking about, well, this is the other problem. If we just go full screen, then what's the point of a zoom? Like as big as it's gonna get. You can do like panning around, I guess, but and then aspect ratio is another concern. Like if I design these spreads where everything needs to be seen, and if we're not doing things in code and it's just a static image, I feel like we need to account for some buffer. Oh, excuse me. I just don't think zoom is important here. Like at the end of the day, it's about the series as a whole, the design on top of it, but it's not so much like diving into the details of imagery. If you want to do that, go specifically to the image categories. It's not ideal like sending people around for different things. Like this is where it's kind of like you just have to sort of pick your battles. Oh, interesting. What are you doing? And see, legibility issues already going to be a thing. Talked about a possible solve was just like subtle mouse position inputs will just like move the images slightly. So I was kind of talking about it yesterday, but just like even in low contrast areas, if you start like moving things behind it, your eye starts kind of informing the edge of whatever's on top. So there might not be a ton, but it kind of helps as there's sort of like gradations in the image behind it in terms of how that comes through. I'm getting sidetracked. So step one, make sure all the steps are here. Preload, load in, browse. This, I don't think it should be here. Slideshow. I don't have a default. It should be the same as detail preloader. I should just call that preloader. We don't want to make a bunch of different preloaders. That's kind of silly. Let's see. Let's figure out what that is because this shouldn't have zoomed in either. Gotcha. Go default for now, although that's not right. This needs to be panning. Panning. Reload. Detail. Play. Okay. I'm sure that was painful for everyone. But I think like the way I was trying to segment things in my head wasn't accurate. I think panning will happen in multiple places. Looking at least with what I have right now, it's going to happen here and it's going to happen here. So this functionality should be the same here and here, and this panning needs to transition to this in a way that makes sense. I've been able to have other people view or edit my Figma files. I haven't reached any sort of draft / the limit. Didn't know there was one. I didn't think so either. I remember there being able to just like throw a bunch of stuff in there, do whatever. But yeah, like I have 3 files and it was like, you've hit your limit. It's strange and unfortunate, but it's just the way it goes. So this preloader has become universal. I'm gonna go ahead. that preloader there. This needs to be here. This needs to be here. I mean, you can already see the discrepancies between like circle sizes. Because of the joystick, it's gotten smaller. Doesn't quite translate. Initially, it never shifted. It's always the size, which was what? 40 by 40. Then I got 30 by 30. So 40 by 40. I don't think I can go any smaller with that. I don't know if it's a problem for it to like expand, contract. Ideally, this isn't changing. Width 67.47. That's good. 84. How is that half the way? I'm gonna take a break real fast, actually. I'm gonna use the bathroom, grab a snack. I'm still gonna keep going for a little bit. I think I got probably like another, probably till 6 p.m. So another like 2 hours. So I'm gonna take like a 5-minute break, and I will be right back. Sorry. Dried mangoes. Got carried away. Do you play video games? I do. Good way to recharge for me. Play some Rocket League and some Call of Duty too. Still on a PS4 because it's impossible to find a PS5 anywhere. Um, but yeah, those are my two of choice. I don't know why those ones. Rocket League I got when it was free way back in the day. Stopped playing for a long time. Just played Call of Duty. Now I don't know. Kind of lost interest in Call of Duty. Played like only Warzone, and it's just it's so sweaty. Like I can't do it. Like everyone in there is just like tryhards. Just I don't know. There's no like feel good games where you get paired up with some people who are just like have no idea what they're doing. Um, I miss those days. I think just leave like playing or feeling bad. Um, I really like this. I just have doubts about it now. It's different. Like drag. It's just how do you get into this? It's like it feels weird to have so much of the navigation based on that, but then it stops short of being able to actually do anything. It's almost like you need something. Um, stupid cat. Almost like you need it to like snap into place behind it. Is this one thing yet to move for some reason? That, that. You can see like a problem with the image for the arrows. It's gone pretty much. You can do stuff like let's see, just creating a little bit of pan, but this might make more sense for this joystick approach, where I think then the plus makes sense. And we do kind of like a semi-stress test. Back, video gradient. Understand it. So, why would it? That's what I survived. I don't have any safe grades, that's why. So we'll do 0. Create a little bit of separation from it. I'm never really crazy about this sort of gradient backing. It still doesn't even do enough, so I might need to up it. But again, like I'm solving the wrong problems right now. I'm just distracted. I shouldn't be focusing on this. It's helping, that's for sure. But yeah. Cursor. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm not still muted. That's good. I can see the Call of Duty influence with the custom cursor design, even the color palette. Yeah, I mean, this is something like it's a mix of like video game, like tech heads-up display design. Like I think I was looking at. Brought this up on the stream. Like the stuff Gmonk did. Like some of these of like having it almost like a heads-up display. I don't think we go this complicated. This is just like too meta. But like taking influence from this of like, there's so many different ways of like we could use this for like representing zoom. This could represent like your x coordinates. So instead of having like the original idea, I mean, I had before looking at that was having just like your x and y coordinate, but maybe it would be cool to have it as something that kind of like ticks. So there's like that old retro into digital sort of mentality. It might be over the top, absolutely, but not quite there in terms of like figuring all that stuff out. This is clearly gone rogue. Yeah, Call of Duty. It's worth a laugh right now. Like, I don't know. It's fun. And don't feel good these days. Why are all my vignettes everywhere? Let's see, the center's right there. Oh, that's because it's a bitmap. That's so I might need to create two different flows for this, at least for like the browse portion of like, okay, we have like the joystick component, we have like the initial one that I came up with. I think this is the joystick one, where it's like the center one just like scales up, and this makes sense. Where clicking this, clicking anywhere outside of like maybe this sort of hitbox for these kind of works. I think it's just confusing. It's like you wouldn't think to grab this, is all I'm thinking. If we didn't have a zoom in, this is obvious. Obvious choice. I'm thinking about like if you could add an extra slider or something for zoom, but I think that takes away from the simplicity of it. I just don't think it's going to work. I'm not using my own image for that. I can't deal with this fucking cat. Fuck this. None of these are the right aspect ratio. Those are all 16:9. Yeah. Gary's gonna be bummed. So this is something I'll go back to him with and be like, you know what? I can't figure out how the zoom works with the joystick. And like he might see it, he might have a solution for it. I don't know. I think with where my head's at with it right now, I just don't see it. So I kind of want to move forward with the other version for now. So this is navigator. So this is the joystick version. So this is what I originally had. This is the alt to this. This is one group. This is a group. And so this is the joystick concept. After selecting image from carousel, perhaps you should hit the category tab on the zoom page, which will seamlessly move to that particular categories page. I thought about that too. I thought about having, like in this data here, like having some tags that would say like what categories it's in, and then just kick people to that. This is just not right. Or it could be something that lives down here. I don't think I'm going to even have these CTAs, but if I could have like the metadata that's all associated with it, whether it's there or if it's like the image ID, maybe it's category, like how that's displayed, I think is still very much in the air. But I think I agree. That's a nice way of just like subtly cross-pollinating, giving people ways to kind of choose their path and how they want to experience things. So this could be like my discovery, like the idea is that it is my discovery section, but giving them ways into the other categories might be useful. I don't know. It gives them the option at least. The other idea is whether we filter this browse. So that would nullify the necessity of the category section. The problem is like we're just really hampered by how many we can load. So do I think 100 images can adequately represent my work? Kind of. At a high level, which I think this sort of browse is, but if I want to like show the depth of my work in each of these categories, right now, so these are like all multi-image things in Webflow, and I found myself hitting the limit of what I could show. So I was having to cut off a lot of different things. Surf category, I think, is really deep. Landscape is really deep. The incidental category is really deep. Some of the other ones, like urban, especially people, like it is not deep at all. I think I've got some more I can add in there, but probably some of those I need to take out, to be honest. But maybe I'll leave something like this around on this site so it's just more functional. I really don't know. So I definitely plan to get to all those details. I think just for, again, like the idea right now is getting Ari kind of testing things. So right now he's got enough to test with like how many images we can load, the idea of like the grid layout. He wants to try the sort of joystick approach, which I'm all for. Like even if it ends up not working, like I think it's like a cool thing that we kind of just collaboratively came up with. But I just don't. Who's going to need to help me out? It's not sticking with my mind right now. Joystick grid. And so the other one is, so I need a default. So I might need that like active center image regardless if I want to have parity between the stories and written. Because then that plus button makes sense. In stories, you're going to have the one that's currently active sitting like this. I just need to figure out all the states. This is joystick concept, so I need this. Doesn't make sense. Default state. There will be no numbers. That is this. Just don't know if it fully. Whether that should stick with this. But like, what happens when you pan to like here? Just it's almost like it would need to rotate. That's kind of why I had the original like arrow idea. I don't know where that is. Okay. This. Sorry, I know this is probably really painful to watch. This is just kind of like mentally trying to think through all these different states. Just don't think that makes sense either. What happens to this thing when you bang? Is it more? I mean, maybe this does just. It's just the scale. So I keep the same size. Someone subscribed somewhere. Oh man, this light doing a number on my filter. Kind of. Not really. We did it. Project I'm doing needs that geometric clean vibe. Can you suggest any fonts for that text-focused design? Oh, a little, sorry, I missed one. A little off of tangent Q. Struggling to find a geometric sans serif font like yours. While making yours, do you have any reference font that you looked to? Project I'm doing needs that geometric clean vibe. Can you suggest any fonts for text-focused design? Yeah. I mean, there's. I could go forever. Oops. Let's go through. I mean, one of my favorites. You see the name. It's favorite. I think it's a really nice. Oh, it's. I tend to like the fonts that are kind of not overcomplicated. A lot of it's kind of very simple, but it has these moments like the Y, like the R is one thing I always really liked about this. So this is like a grotesque type font that I really like. Some other ones off the top of my head. There's so many. F grotesque. So if you go to, what is it, Type Wolf, you can find some relevant links and kind of like different vibes. I think they have different lists. Rounded fonts, monospace, sans serif fonts. Founders Grotesque is another good one. Graphic is another good one. GT America is another good one. That's a little more stylized. It's super heavy focused. I don't know if it's Apresu. I don't know how to pronounce it. I really like that font. How did I get here? How did I click on? Yeah, so they have like all these examples based on different characteristics of people using it. I think it's a really nice, like technical. It's a kind of technical focus font. It's high on legibility, but it's got a little bit of character to it. It's not totally dead. So that, I mean, it really depends on what your use case is, because once you start looking at some of these, like sans serifs, the difference between them is just really nominal. Like a lot of the grotesques, like you could probably argue my font looks a lot like some other fonts, without a doubt. I think mine's inspired by different characteristics. Like I'll be very honest, like favorites, capital R is very much like my R. It's kind of that hard. It's that hard R. That Austin is here to laugh his ass off. So you can see like it's inspired by it, but it's like I don't know. And so like these are the kind of differences you get in the character. And I've revered the R here a little bit more because it's a little bit more aggressive in terms of like some of the angles it creates. I didn't think it really fit with mine as well. I do want to go back and kind of add a little bit more aggressiveness to some of the alts. Not a ton. I'm pretty happy with the font right now. A lot of it's like technical cleanup, stuff like that, added features, added alternative characters, but it's really just, yeah, like the difference between them at the end of the day gets really small. Um, so even if you scale it back even smaller, like kind of blur your eyes, like suddenly they look exactly the same. So, and I'm sure they've done all sorts of more testing in terms of like how this is legible at smaller sizes. Um, maybe this isn't pronounced enough. I don't know. I eyeballed the shit out of it. So Typewool is a great resource. Was it Fonts and Muse? Yeah, that's another good one. But this is like all over. I don't know if they have. What did they do? Right. The sans serif, they have to. Huh. That is strange. I think they'd have it on like characteristics. There's got to be some way of doing it. Maybe you just have to browse. I don't know. Cert's another good one. I like Cert a lot. I try not to get too attached to too many fonts. I just like don't even look at the name. Some of them are so close. I've never heard of this font. Or copy. Kind of like it. Very European style. I'll take that as you will. Feels like Scandinavian almost in some ways. Um, German maybe? Like that T. Yeah, it feels more German. I mean, seeing it in German probably like no shit. I go for low hanging fruit, all right. Just don't judge me. Um, what software did you use to design the font? I use FontLab. I have an older version. I haven't wanted to pay to upgrade. Where is it? Yeah, FontLab 6. I think all the stuff they added is like more advanced features, anyways. I'm just not there. That's the kind of the problem with me and a lot of stuff right now is I'm I'm I would say I'm very proficient in like the Lightrooms, the sketches, the Photoshops, um, Illustrator. Yeah, it kind of starts falling off. I don't really use it that much. After Effects, no. Blender, no. DaVinci Resolve, middle of the road. Capture One, I want to get rid of. Apparently, they locked me in for a year. Live, moderate. I'm okay with that. FontLab, no, don't know it too well. I'm falling into that like master of none, which is kind of a problem. That's why I need that Stream Deck so badly to have all these like macros that I can just like. I can't remember how to do this. Do it for me. Hopefully that helps though. I love fonts in use. It's just that I can't afford to buy the fonts. Newhouse for Task. Yeah, Argent. I mean, those are all additional fonts that are super good. Active Grotesque. I don't know if I've heard of that one. Another good one is NB International, I think. Yeah, I really like this font. I haven't really had a chance to use it though. It's kind of a bummer. It's kind of like a press, whatever it is. Kind of like that. I mean, the letter spacing is a bit much. I don't know what these units are. I don't think it's pixels. Maybe it is. I don't know. But there you go. NB International. Great font. FontLab new version is super good. Yeah, I think I need to understand like what I'm missing out on it. Like if it's enough, then it'll really help my workflow as someone who's kind of novice. Like I can design it, but actually like bringing it to life is it's kind of daunting. There's a lot of stuff you have to consider. At least for me, in my novice state. Um, so we're trying to save, like this makes sense. I kind of want to try and save Ari's joystick thing. I almost think it's the scale that's causing the problems. Snap. It's like it's okay if this is like the center point. This is your viewable. It maxes out here, but it snaps to an image. Let me. I'm gonna do Chrome browsing for a second. Hang tight. I don't know what's gonna show. Yeah, it's my site. Whatever. Spare you my site. Nope. Ari's asleep. What time is it there? Oh, it's like 2 in the morning. He was like just up. He works crazy late. Web font license for MV International. Yeah. The licensing for font is just fucking ridiculous. What is it? These guys do a really good job. $27 for all these fonts. Like, it's a really good fucking deal. A lot of really good fonts. This might solve some of your, like what you're looking for. A lot of it's pretty similar. But some of them are like really, really nice fonts. Pangram does a nice job, and like, I cannot for the life of me understand why more people don't do this. Like, they just reduce the price, they get it in designers' hands. Like, they make it clear about what you're allowed to do with it. But in terms of like actual usage and licensing, I think people are going to be way more inclined to pay for a web license if they can use it in comps. And they're not sending people to like sketchy websites to try and pirate it and then like convince people to pay for the license. Like that is like a huge workaround for people. Why not? Why not put it in designers' hands and just set terms of like what you can use it for? And like, granted, like enforcing those rules is probably next to impossible. But at the end of the day, like you're getting the fonts into more people's hands. There's more probability of like, well, one, you're getting more licensing fees instead of like whatever it is, £600 for like one license of a font. Like no one's going to pay that outside of companies. How many designers are out there? How many designers would pay $27 for this bundle of fonts? I think a lot of them. You're probably going to make a lot more in bulk. You're going to reduce the need for pirating. I just like whoever set the pricing for fonts is just like I don't understand it. I understand fonts are very complex. Like I've gone through my own process, which was not even all of it. Um, so I understand there's a lot of work that goes into it, but it's a numbers game. I feel like with fonts, or it should be. It should be more like if it's good, a lot of people are going to buy it. We'll recoup our costs that way, versus like we're going to keep it out of most people's hands and hope that a couple people buy it. If I start a foundry, like I'm going cheap. Like let people use it. Why sell it? I don't understand. Sorry. Very confusing. Okay. I've just created a mess. Sorry, I've been like brains all over. I think you're still seeing my browser. So these sort of things like button to show coordinates and metadata, looking at pinning right there. I'm just like confusing myself with this, which is not good. I start just deleting things too. Like, so this plus minus thing, I just don't think this works. It's too nuanced. I think the only thing that might work, it is a very big might. It's moving in there. Then what's left to right? And that just like doesn't even look like an interface. Plus, it's like the plus is being used for zooming or for clicking into things. Now it's suddenly not taking you in, it's just like zooming in. This is like the most tedious part of this kind of project, is just thinking through these details. And for me, like I get caught on a couple things and I just can't see past it sometimes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get this slideshow figured out. The other thing, like I think there's a way to make it work, but this is feeling the closest to me. So preload, zoomed in, the default seems to be zoomed in, this has got to be zoomed out. Zoomed, it would be the panning. These will be gone. Count's not really important anymore. It's almost like this, but without. What's happening? This can move. It's always going to snap back. Joysticking, it's almost like this. I'm already like deviating. Stop. Slideshow zoomed. these go away, these start rotating and resolve into two extras. They rotate and then split and then just both kind of come up. That makes sense. Would be cool if it was like double, so then those split, rotate at like different speeds. And that's how you get to this. But I wonder if it's just like the transition from these two rotating to this. If it just does like 2 laps around and then stops, it's like that's all it's going to take for a preload. Just make it simple. That stuff all goes away. No, that's percentage. But the shift from this to this is going to be strange. It's kind of like, let's just get rid of those. I want to make transitional states, but I wonder if like these just like go behind. They just kind of like condense it. And then it rotates and then comes back this. Like click center for that, click for this. Click and drag this if you want, but I think more people are going to do panning anyways. And this will just be their way out. This will be their way out, click for these, but yeah, joystick is like such a secondary thing. Dang, I might actually buy these. I want to start like a daily interactive design challenge so these fonts can be great. Love it. Love it. I think like self-initiated sort of explorations. I mean, I did a lot with like the Nixon redesign. I did just on a whim. Like I was just tired of the work I was doing, and so I just did that. It became like the biggest thing I had done to that point by a lot, and uh, I mean, it kind of ended up manifesting into me actually doing the redesign. But I don't think that's typical. That was kind of I had friends there. I had all sorts of stuff that was kind of helping. Um, but that like gave me something to work on. I think like with those self-initiated projects, I think they're valuable as long as you like put real limitations on it and really think about like you're not gonna have all the insights into actually doing this. I don't know if you're talking about doing just like posters or whatever. Like that's also good. Anything to just like keep the creative juices flowing, like I think is good. But if you do like websites and branding, it's not like it's like if you're going to rebrand Coca-Cola, hypothetically, like you don't just change the color to blue. Like that's not real. That's just like that becomes art. That's not design at a certain point. Um, Again, my take on it. Because art's just for your. And like you can do art. I think like doing art posters is also a good thing to do. Or just doing like I don't know any sort of like free expression, but design related stuff. Um, oh, well, oh, that fucked up my audio. Sorry. I need to call my or text my brother back real fast. Sorry, this is not very professional. Trying not to do this. Okay, I'm out. Um, but yeah, self-initiated stuff's great. Some people look down on it, but I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. Is my okay? My mic is working. Okay. This makes sense. It's the zoomed. Sorry, I don't. Mute myself. Okay. Bring the rain back too. Hold on. Or no, it's not working. There you go. Oh shit. Yeah. So I guess the other. So it's really figuring out for this like what moves. This is where circle stays dead center. And what you do kind of brings it to the forefront. So whether you flip play, it's a circle move. The circle always yeah, no, it'd be a circle. Kind of like the idea. I mean, this plays the one on the left. This plays more into like the idea of like cassette. But I think what I had this yesterday. So the plus turns into a play button, the pause button. Excuse me. So then, if this is playing, oh, this is this is the play. Close. I have it here. Kind of reminds me of like a radio dial, where you just have like the center line, and just as you turn the dial, it just kind of like moves behind it, and that's how it indicates where you're at. I don't like that. So I'm leaning towards the left. Plus, then it creates like this little like offset as you navigate between it. It's just like it's just sliding into like an active position. And I think I want that. Like, if this is going to be persistent, I think I want it dead center at all times. So I don't think this is the route. Keep it center. So forward. Fast forward. Two different play buttons. Okay, what I'm going to do is finally be smart about this. 69, 170. doesn't have to be exact. I don't know why I'm making such a point of this. I got it there. So we'll call these slideshow. Symbol. And the slash paused. Then where is this? First. Static. So now what I can do, insert symbols, slideshow controls. It's not really paused, that's not quite the right. Here's its background. Y-axis control instances. But now it doesn't show up the dark background. I can just keep the dark background for like copying purposes and have that contrast, but it's something that will slide. This is that symbol, controls. These aren't centered. I don't know how this happened. That or that play button's not. It is. Something's fine. That looks closer, but it looks like it's sitting on a half pixel. But just gonna live with it. So now all I have to do is I just have to update these one. Like if I want to ever just update the play on button or like any of these icons, like I'm thinking about making these hard like right angles. I won't have to deal with all those different shapes. States, default state. This really depends on whether between the stories and the like the static images. I don't know if there's going to be zoom for both. That's accounted for. I'll keep the same circle size. That's the goods. Look at the joystick concept. just has to snap. That's the only. Was much simpler. It's just a simple button. Again, like if you're not over anything, it matters. So I think it has to snap no matter what. This sort of thing is going to have to happen. Or the plus doesn't show up until you're over an image, but that's kind of silly. Maybe. Believe that. I just want to make the thing at home. Well, the two ideas are they're just compromising each other. So this could be hold. So if you click and hold, maybe these will go. The plus kind of breaks apart. So click and hold, and drag that. This goes this, this element. So then this would. This would potentially. And could it split again? Does that make sense? That's confusing. That looks like a book. These be exported as SVGs or something? Yeah, I think that's the thinking. Actually, I don't know. With something like this interactive, I don't know if Ari is gonna want to build them himself from scratch some other way. My guess is SVGs. This will all be vector based in the end, and he may have some crazy way of doing it that's not SVGs, but that's my thought. Like if you're thinking about like a plus being the combination of two shapes like that, I don't know. I don't know how I would have to think he just like stack these individual SVGs. Yeah, that'd be my thing. I just don't like. Like, how could it make something that's? Does it make like a compass or something? whichever way you drag, it just like turns towards. I mean, in theory, it could turn into this. Oh, no. Has to be different. I don't know about this. Drawing this at an angle is kind of weird. That too much. Probably. It'd be kind of cool to do. If I could draw. Jeez. Good. Good. I might be taking this too far. I can hold. I don't know. It seems like it's getting overly complex. That. Ladder's back up. Nice. Just like a more simple. This way. like directional. When you first click and hold, it's not gonna. At all. It's gonna be really fucking confusing. What did I just do? It's just this simple, and I'm just really overthinking it. It's like this at default snaps in, like, which case should still be here. Oh, what happened here? So you're panning, the zoom goes away until it snaps back in. So it gets back to this. Always click it. Has it really been this simple? It has been simple. Oh. That worked for this. The thing, what I'm thinking is like, as you click and drag, the faster you drag, the further away from the center this goes. Just in the same as if you click this and move it, the speed correlates. So there's a direct correlation there. Just in the same as the slideshow, if you drag this, like, depending if you use your, like, this sort of like hand grab cursor and drag, you drag fast enough, it'll just kind of like move with it. But then as it slows down, it'll go back, but you can click and hold on each of these. So click to hold speed, drag speed equals distance of icons snaps back to. That means it'll just be doing two different states. Like if you click and hold this, it means like a pause. So like going back to zero speed. But a natural drag will just kind of like, this thing will just like go like, we'll start from here. This will stay. Well, so as you like grab and scroll, like typically on the screen, it's gonna like oscillate back, like as it kind of hits the easing curve. The numbers will change with it. Click and it just snaps. And that will. One thing I don't know is like if it stays there as like an autoplay, or if it just goes to the next one. Like you click it and it just like as it just kind of does a single. If this is speed, maybe there's like an auto in somewhere else. But I think it does work. I mean, I think it really is Ari's kind of, it's like the combination of our two. It's this one for panning. This one. So I need to clean up the names. These guys here. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. The preload will work for both. I'm happy about that. So I think that's going to be something for Ari to work on now. I got him the images. I need to recompress them. I'm not going to do that again on the stream. I might get off a little bit early, just because I feel like that hit a point really quickly that I'm feeling good about. Some of these other details, I think, as it applies to this, will be interesting to see like what the actual interaction is. Like, I think it's all representational now, and then I want to get into like some of the fun meta of like what gets displayed, what happens when you do this, how do you, yeah, all these different states I think are coming. But yeah, priority one was getting Ari a framework that makes sense, something he can just start building upon, and yeah, my understanding is that he already started tonight. Worked till like 1:30 in the morning, so I'm sure he's going to jam tomorrow. I don't know if he'll have something, or when he's going to have something to show. I don't know if he's ever done something quite like this. But yeah, lots of fun. So I think, yeah, I'm going to call it there for now. I think it was, I kind of apologize for, like, this is kind of like the unglamorous look behind some of these, at least how I work. I'm not going to pretend this is how it is with everyone. I've worked with people who, they have like a straight line on where they go. I don't. I haven't had any clue about anything. Like, usually you get a brief that gives guardrails. This had nothing. This had like framework ideas. This had no content strategy. So I'm just winging the shit out of it. And I think today, thinking more about the framework, it's really like thinking of all use cases. And I think I'm still inefficient with it in terms of getting caught on very certain things and trying to like think about it through multiple lenses at the same time, instead of just like focusing like, okay, let's solve this one thing first, get that checked off, let's see if that then matters to that, instead of trying to do both at the same time. Like, let's get the slideshow down. There's going to be a way that it translates to the panning one, but we just have to see. I think where I landed was kind of close to where I started, so it might have been just kind of an exercise in utility, just kind of spinning my gears, but at least for me it validated that there is a logical system behind it now. So for me, next steps are probably recording something for Ari this afternoon, so he has something to wake up to in terms of like what the thinking is, with some of the finer details, and then from here working on the exact interactions and some of like the metadata, like all that sort of fun stuff. So this is kind of the boring, arduous part. I think it's out of the way, and yeah, fun stuff. So thank you again, everyone who came through. I don't know how long this one was. Kind of long. I'm back on this. But yeah, of course, love all the questions, comments. Thank you to everyone who came through. And yeah, next one will be more fun. Maybe tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. I might not be back until like Sunday. Maybe like a Sunday afternoon. I'll come back. Um, not as much of a rush now, with Ari kind of having some room to breathe and kind of keep busy. So um, yeah, and he might. I mean, follow him on Instagram. He posts a lot of like work in progress stuff. I think we like being very transparent. I've been always apprehensive about sharing some of this process stuff because of how kind of gross it is, but he makes it look super easy. So follow him; it's worth it. All right. Thank you again, and probably Sunday afternoon. I'll be back. Yeah, thank you, Arjun. Thanks for coming through, man. Have a great weekend. Talk soon.